Hello and welcome. This is NC Debrief on News Central. The Debrief brings Africa's social stories into focus through analysis, perspectives, and personal experiences every week. We talk about politics, religion, governance, social issues, and much more. With our guests, we dissect the issues at hand. I'm Tolulope Adilaru Balogun. Today, it's the abortion conversation. Joining me to discuss this is Priye Diri. She's a filmmaker and sexual reproductive health advocate who works with the Dorothy Njamenze Foundation. I also have Jumoke Adebayo. She's the founder and team lead of Pro-Life Nigeria, which deals with sexual reproductive health. She's also a nurse and midwife. Don't forget that you can join the conversation using the hashtag NCDebrief and share your thoughts with us. Now, there are various definitions of abortion, and many times the definition adopted by a group or person reflects the political, social, and cultural sentiments around the word. This defines it as the removal of the expulsion of a fetus or embryo from the uterus during the first half of gestation, which is about 20 weeks or less, or in the absence of accurate dating criteria, born weighing less than 500 grams. Now, according to Guttmacher, an estimated 93% of women of reproductive age in Africa live in countries with restrictive abortion laws, and Africa is the world region with the highest number of abortion-related deaths. An estimated 21.6 million unintended pregnancies occur each year in Africa. Of these, nearly 4 in 10, that's about 38%, end in abortion. So Priye, let me start with you. You made the series Akachi, which deals with the topic of abortions and the reason why some characters got abortions. So in the terms of the work you've also done with the Dorothy Njamenze Foundation, what have you seen to be the reason that young women and girls have chosen abortions?
Hello. So for me, one of the reasons that we've seen, it's simple, is that they do not want these babies. And one of the main reasons why this happens is because when it comes to issues of reproductive health and rights, women are not given that, we do not have education and awareness on ways to prevent pregnancy. So you see children in secondary school say before they have sex, they pray to God so they don't get pregnant.
So the contraceptive is prayer.
Yeah. And so so when these issues come up, and they get pregnant, there's no other option for them. It's not like they know, so they don't know about the morning after pills, they don't know how it works. A lot of people do not have this information. So it's just one option for them.
Okay, so Jumoke, you're the team lead at Pro-Life Nigeria, and reading up about the organization, I went to the About page, and it basically said that you wanted to see young Nigerians have shame-free sexuality and lead healthy reproductive lives. You talk about the lack of access to information on reproductive health education. So how do you think a lack of access to information could be one of the factors that lead someone to choosing to have an abortion?
Okay, so for a lot of young people, because of the way a lot of young people don't have access to comprehensive sexuality education, and you don't know how to prevent pregnancy. You don't even know how to make a choice of, do I want to start having sex now or not? Then a lot of people don't even know when they're being coerced into having sex and different issues like that. If a young person actually knows how to prevent pregnancy, they won't be talking about issues of abortion at all. And then if a person eventually even has proper information of safe abortion or unsafe abortion, then the person will know, I shouldn't use very harmful substances. Things like this, they talk about potash, they use a lot of different harmful substances, which can actually kill them. So if you know that what I'm going to use would actually be harmful to my health, then you're more likely not to go through that method. But talking about how it is illegal, let's even start with letting them have access to information on contraception and even allowing them have access to the commodities. So it's easy for them to choose, okay, I'm ready to actually start having sex. So what do I do to prevent pregnancy? And then there are other situations where young girls especially have to have sex for money in exchange of other things. They're trying to survive, but they also have to protect themselves.
So the repercussions don't come.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if they don't have the information on how to prevent pregnancy, it's we're still going to talk about abortion.
Okay, so let's share some more statistics. Now, out of 54 countries on the continent, only 4 countries in Africa have relatively liberal abortion laws. Zambia permits abortion for health and socioeconomic reasons, while Cape Verde, South Africa, and Tunisia permits abortion without restriction as to the reason, with gestational limitations. In 10 countries, it's prohibited altogether. In 10 countries, it's permitted if it is a condition for saving the life of a woman. In 30 countries, it is allowed if it is necessary to save the woman's life and or in the interest of her health. Among these last 40 countries, we have some that won't allow abortion unless it's related to rape or fetal anomaly, and that's a birth defect, or incest. Some demand spousal permission or parental consent. Research shows that these restrictions actually force women and girls into having unsafe abortions. According to Guttmacher, the most common complications from unsafe abortions are incomplete abortion, excessive blood loss, and infection. And the poorest women with the fewest resources are the most likely to experience complications from unsafe abortion. Unsafe abortion has negative consequences beyond its immediate effects on individual women's health. Now, treating complications increases the economic burden on poor families and incurs considerable costs to already struggling public health systems. That's a lot of information to take in concerning abortion and how across the continent there are rules that are a bit liberal, restrictive, that have specific factors taken into play. But in the context of our conversation today, there's no way religion and tradition and culture do not come into play. So how do we address the cultural, religious, and even structural? Because even if there is the law that allows the women to have access to abortions, what are the medical structures in place, the primary healthcare centers or the medical personnel who have the expertise to be able to conduct safe abortion? So how do we have that conversation in relation to the cultural, religious, even structural factors that we have to take into place? Jumoke, let me start with you.
Okay, so with religion, is very dicey and is a very, very sensitive place to be in. So usually for abortion, both the providers too are very reluctant to give to provide services on abortion if it doesn't go with the religion. But it's better for us to understand and let people come to a place of, oh, do I want to do this service or not? And then for people that are also not comfortable with it, we can't force them, but we need to give them the right information and destigmatize abortion and let them understand how it works. For different religions, for Christianity, there's really no specific information on what to do in relation to abortion. It just goes with do not kill. But for Islam, there are actually provisions for abortion, and there are actually rules and when you can actually do abortion and things like that. So for structural issues, for providers, currently in Nigeria, because it's a life-saving procedure, so we have
for some.
Yes, for some, it's a life-saving procedure. So the way we work is there are issues whereby, especially in cases of miscarriage, we already know there's a miscarriage and the woman is bleeding already. So you definitely have to do what you have to do.
You need to finish the evacuation.
Exactly. Yeah. So in cases like that, there are actually things in place, but because of how our primary health care system is not fully equipped by what we want, so it's not available in all primary health systems, but definitely at the secondary level, we can actually access some of these services. So different, and it's important that for everybody that we're trying to make them understand this, we have to come to a middle ground with everybody. So if you don't know, if you don't want them to access abortion, okay, but at least can they have access to contraception? We need to meet halfway during this. People don't even want to hear the word abortion or have discussions around it. So I think for us, it's important that we actually are able to sit down and actually talk and meet halfway and let even people understand that abortion is a right, is a human right. It's not about your religion, or you can't infringe your religion on somebody. What if the person doesn't believe in your religion or your culture? Culture is diverse, religion is diverse.
And I like the fact that you bring that up. So Priya, I'm going to bring you in here. When we have these conversations, you'll see people, women particularly, who say that this is my body, this is the decision I want to make. Some have said that the male partner should be involved in the making of that decision. But then others are saying, especially when you look at the debates and how it's happening in the US, that government is trying to control, regulate, and legislate what women do with their bodies. So in the African context, is is there a conversation to be had around women saying, this is my body, this is the decision that I'm making for myself, sans a man, sans a husband, sans whatever the situation is, it is my decision, and you need to keep your religion, keep your tradition, and keep your culture, some would say, out of my vagina.
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so when we come down to Africa, because I like to bring it home all the time, we need to understand that in Nigeria, permit me to say, we have no respect for women's rights. Yeah, I mean, look at the issues happening in Abuja of the raids on women and all of that. And so when we bring it back home, we see that everything that has to do with a woman, when it comes to laws, the government always wants to restrict. And so again, I say, women have the rights to their bodies. If a woman wants to have an abortion, I mean, I believe, like what she said, I believe in making accessible contraceptive, family planning, and all, because if these things are in place,
then we wouldn't get to the point of having that
we will not get to the conversation of, I want to have an abortion. So I mean, if we start from the point where we are not going to be stigmatizing young people when they walk into a pharmacy to say, oh, I want to get condoms, because it happens.
Yes, it does.
It happens. A lot of young people say, but when we go to because we do a lot of talks with young people. When we go to the pharmacy, they always look at us like we're about to commit sin. They always,
and that's the stigmatization that Jumoke was talking about.
So if we get to the point where we're no more stigmatizing young people when they go to the hospitals, if we get to the point where when a wife says, oh, I want to have family planning, and then the family people are not saying, no, you cannot remove what God has put. If we have all those conversations, if we come to a common ground, that is why I say religion plays a big role, because whether we like it or not, we pay so much attention to our religious fathers. Oh, my pastor says, my imam says. So it's that conversation. So like she said, we have to come to a middle ground. We have to have like a round table conversation where we say abortion rights are women's rights.
Okay, so now we went to the streets and we asked a few people what they thought about legalizing abortion. Let's see what they have to say.
Accept it, maybe by not knowing their own religion. Because me in Islam, if woman is going to do abortion, it's the same with person that kill an adult. And it can never happen for a year. It can never. We have representatives, we have senators, we have House of Assembly, we have state. You understand me now? So all those kind of things, I know that the Muslim and Christian, they can't vote for it.
If you don't have time to get pregnant to have a baby, leave sex alone.
It's not good to have a premature pregnancy, but at the same time, when you find yourself in such a situation, it's not also advisable to abort the baby. Once the baby is formed, it's formed, so you have to allow the baby to come.
All the doctors that are indulging in such acts, they should remember that someday, one day, they will have to answer for it. God will ask them why. So doctors should not indulge in abortion. In short, abortion should never be encouraged at all.
Abortion legalized? No way. Everyone knows that abortion is it will definitely take your life, or you won't be able to conceive again. That's it.
So we're talking about what they're saying from the Vox Pop, but ladies, you have a few comments, and let's start with the unsafe parts. The last person there who spoke said that everybody knows that abortion will definitely take your life, but that's not actually true. Jumoke, do you want to speak to that?
Okay, yeah. So I think because we're in this country, we're so used to unsafe abortion, and usually for unsafe abortion, because it's never complete. So it can lead to death. That is when you go through unsafe abortion, or it can lead to infection and things like that. That's your life. But safe abortion is quite different. It's very safe, and I really haven't heard anybody die from a safe abortion. From a safe abortion, because it's by a skilled provider, and then your uterus is actually emptied. Your womb is emptied, so there is no material or anything there to actually cause you to bleed or cause complications. And because it's sterile, so the risk of infection is actually quite low. But a lot of people don't know that. So everybody thinks that once you do an abortion, you die.
Okay, so, Priya, you want to say anything?
Yeah, so there's a training that we had with an organization. And one of the things that we were taught was, unsafe abortion, of course, the statistics says 1 in 7 women, 1 woman dies every 7 minutes from unsafe abortion. But from safe abortion is actually safer than carrying pregnancy to full term.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So you're more at risk if you carry a pregnancy to full term than
Yes.
if you have
During
a safe
safe
abortion.
abortion. Yes.
That's interesting to know. All right, Priya, let's talk about Akachi, the series that you made. What do you think a series such as Akachi can do in terms of progressing or moving forward a conversation, even one that has a compromise involved in terms of abortion?
Yeah, okay, so I would just do a little narration on what the series is, and then I go into the question. So the thing with Akachi, when we started to create a concept around it, we wanted to tell a story on abortions, safe and unsafe.
Yeah.
We brought in cultural context, religious context, because the doctor who has the capacity to perform safe abortion in their her husband is actually a pastor who believes that a woman should not have an abortion because I mean you're killing. So we have all of those dynamics, and I believe we did this series because we understood that film has the capacity to change people's hearts. Yeah. So one of the first episodes we had was a girl, a 16-year-old girl who was raped and had to have an abortion.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in that situation, we had people say, "Oh, you cannot kill because." But when you think about it and you think about how having the child will affect the life of this 16-year-old, there's really no conversation at that point. And so what we did also was we always say, "Oh, it's your choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep this baby?" So we always there's always that understanding of you should go back and think about it. Nobody's trying to force
And
abortion down your throat.
choice, yeah.
So you need to make your own choice.
Okay.
If you decide that, "Oh, I want to keep this baby," then fine, perfect. Because we have episodes where the character says, "Oh, I want to keep the baby," and we have episodes where the
provide
character
the two
says,
sides
yes,
of the
where the
conversation.
character says, "Oh no, but
Okay.
I don't want this baby."
So ladies, it's a lot of short time for a conversation that's one of the heaviest on the continent. We've seen conversations being had for more ownership of women's bodies and African women standing up and saying that these are their personal decisions.
Yeah.
But we also know some of the statistics, which is something I want to leave us with as we wrap things up. So according to WHO, that's the World Health Organization, there are 35 induced abortions per 1,000 women between the ages of 15 and 44. 3 out of 4 abortions that occurred in Africa and Latin America are considered to be unsafe. The risk of dying from an unsafe abortion is the highest in Africa, and the annual cost of treating major complications from unsafe abortion is estimated at about $553 million. So beyond this conversation, beyond even a conversation on reproductive health rights and access to contraceptives, what do we need to do? Because the two of you have spoken about a compromise that brings in tradition, that brings in culture, that brings in so many other aspects, even parents.
Yes.
We have government. There are parents who will tell you, no one should talk to my child about sex except me, but you're not having the conversation. Government is there, even though many African countries will say that they are secular, you still feel a bit of the religious and cultural overtones playing into this conversation. So how do we have this conversation that respects everybody's right to their own choice, but moves the conversation forward, because we know that women and girls on the continent, millions of them, could lose their lives from unsafe abortions. Jumoke?
Okay, so for me, I think we also need to look at how it affects everybody and everything, because abortion is just beyond abortion. When a girl has the ability to decide if she wants to carry a baby at a certain time or not, there are a lot of things that actually come into play. Our education, ability to come out of poverty. So if a girl, imagine a young girl of 16 that has to decide if she has to have an abortion at that time, and then a school has to stop, which means she has to struggle to go back to school. And then if she doesn't go back to school, that means poverty
socioeconomic
cycle comes
possibilities have gone down.
And then that means she's not able to add to the whole economy in general. So it's beyond just having abortions. There are a lot of other things in play too. And I think if everybody sees the bigger picture of it, then maybe we would come to a middle ground and then be able to negotiate these things.
Okay, Priya?
Yeah, so I would say age-appropriate comprehensive sexuality education. Age-appropriate. I mean, we've had people say, "Oh, you cannot tell my child about sex." And we're like, no, when you talk about comprehensive sexual education, parents will say to you that you're teaching their children to have sex.
Yes,
I don't know.
that's like the
and so we were like, no, that's not what this is about. This is about giving these children the information to make proper decisions. And so I think that if we have age-appropriate comprehensive sexuality education, then it solves a lot of issues. That's one. Two, if we're able to take away, again, stigma from contraceptives and then family planning, it will go a long way. And then we need to have everybody joining in on this conversation. The religious sector, they have to understand that it's way above religion. Because there's a gist of a church of a woman who committed abortion who had an abortion in the church and she died caused unsafe abortion. And then how the church was buried the conversation, and so it's even the religious fathers know that it's important.
Happening.
Yes, it's happening, but everybody's shying away from the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Jumoke and Priye, for joining us. Now, I want to leave us with this because it's a very vital conversation that we need to have on the continent. We cannot ignore the fact that millions of African women and girls will make the choice to have an abortion sometime in their lifetime. Many people don't even want to talk about abortion in Africa, but the lack of conversation and addressing the issues that leads to millions of unintended and unwanted pregnancies is exposing our women and girls to unsafe backdoor abortions that could lead to the inability to have kids later on in life and also could lead to death. What we can do to stop shying away from this conversation is to face it head on. What can governments do, and what can we do to ensure our women and girls, and yes, boys and men, have access to information that allows them to make the right sexual health and reproductive decisions for themselves? Let's think about that. Thank you so much for joining us on The Debrief. You can always find us on Twitter, on Facebook, and of course on Instagram. We are at News Central TV. Join the conversation using the hashtag NCDebrief and make it a date with us next time on Friday, 3:30 West African time, right here on News Central. I'm Tolulokwe Adelaru Balogun, and until next time, stay safe.